Hey everybody, this is John Zakari, and today I'm coming at you with a review of Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, exclusively for the Wii U. The Armored Edition includes all of the DLC previously available on other platforms. This includes new challenge maps, costumes, and the Harley Quinn's Revenge storyline. In addition to this content, the Armored Edition also features gameplay elements that incorporate the Wii U's gamepad. The Armored Edition also outfits Batman and Catwoman with new battle armor suits. Besides a cosmetic upgrade, these suits allow the pair to build up kinetic energy during a fight that can be used to enter Battle Armor Tech Mode, or Bat Mode. With this mode engaged, Batman and Catwoman have a heightened sense of enemy locations and deal out more damage. Unfortunately, these suits don't offer any bonuses in the defense department.
You got him!
Arkham City is a section of Gotham that has been walled off to house the city's major criminals, a la Escape from New York. Bruce Wayne finds himself abducted and tossed into Arkham, and as the world's greatest detective must figure out the truth behind not only his abduction, but also the creation of Arkham City. The game features an amazing voice cast, with Batman the Animated Series veterans Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill at the helm, reprising their roles as Batman and Joker respectively.
But you of all people should know, there's plenty wrong with you.
These two aren't the only standouts, as there are several other notable performances handed in, such as Nolan North as the Penguin.
So, Batman, you here for the cops, the Iceman, or me?
And Troy Baker as Two-Face.
Heads or tails, kitty cat?
Throughout the game, players can expect to encounter nearly all of their favorite Batman baddies, including but not limited to Poison Ivy, the Riddler, Hugo Strange, Solomon Grundy, the Mad Hatter, zombies, T-Rexes, Blue Man Group, and Jaws. Taking down all these supervillains may seem like a tall order, but luckily, Batman is equipped with all the martial art techniques and gadgets necessary to handle the job. The game's combat can be described with one word: satisfying. It's simple enough that anyone can pick it up, but increasing numbers of varied enemies require the player to adapt quickly to different situations. You may find yourself making quick work of thugs on the street one minute, only to be overwhelmed by groups of stun baton and shield-carrying tiger guards the next. And it wouldn't be a Batman game without some stealth elements. Difficulty elevates just as fast in this department as you go from rooms consisting of several poorly armed thugs to areas full of machine gun-toting enemies that can even jam Batman's detective mode. To deal with these situations, the player must rely on knowledge they build throughout the game, and if you're anything like me, you'll also use a lot of trial and error. And if players find themselves repeatedly running into trouble, they can always hone their skills in the game's various challenge maps and by solving the Riddler's mind-boggling puzzles. Despite his combat prowess, Batman doesn't have any actual superpowers. Instead, he uses gadgets in order to get through various situations and encounters. Players can use these various gadgets to solve puzzles in the environment, to aid them in combat engagements, and to traverse the environment. But be careful of those no-fly zones, though. Batman, you're burning up! The suit can't take it! The game incorporates the Wii U gamepad with the gadgets by use of engaging minigames when doing actions such as hacking or tracing phone calls, and it allows players to quickly swap their gadgets in and out, as well as upgrade their gear. To uncover the city's secrets, Batman must confront the inhabitants. Anyone, from the thugs on the street to the major villains who run them, may have valuable information. They may not be willing to talk to Batman at first, but he certainly has ways of convincing them, typically by using brutal interrogation methods.
I will never kill. Thanks for your help.
Are you sure about that, Batman? Because you just dropped that guy like several stories on his head.
I'll tell you what I know.
Thank you.
Jesus, Batman, he told you what you wanted to know. Yeah, he's definitely dead. While Batman's intimidation tactics might work on these common crooks, the supervillains of Gotham don't scare so easy. Batman will engage with these hostiles in elaborate boss fights in order to get what he needs from them. Many of them only have a few weaknesses, and some can adapt depending on the player's tactics. This game shines in numerous ways, but it's not without its flaws. While most of the gamepad implementation is enjoyable, some aspects don't seem to work as well as others. For instance, using the gamepad's motion controls while throwing the remote batarang seems off. In one instance, I had the batarang just spinning in a circle even when I held the gamepad upright. I highly recommend using the control sticks in these situations. Also, sometimes the game enters a pause-like state during gamepad minigames, like when tracing Zaz's phone calls. Once Batman picks up the phone, the screen just pauses. Couldn't they have just had Batman stand there with the phone in his hand? This version of the game also has loads that can appear randomly and interrupt the gameplay. This often happens when flying through the city. While quick moments like this are common in sandbox games, these loads are longer than average. The game also has a few glitches and animations, but these typically result in situations that are more humorous than frustrating. Finally, incorporating most of Batman's villains into a single game might sound like a great idea, but the game feels oversaturated with villains, with some of the major ones not getting as fleshed out as they should. This problem carries over into the side quests. More often than not, the side quests will require you to do several investigative missions that culminate in a very brief encounter with a villain. While these side villains may not have gotten the screen time otherwise, the quests leading up to them can get very repetitive, and the payoff rarely seems worth it. Also, with all the villains in this game, who could be used as a big reveal for the next game? Calendar Man? Oh yeah, he's in this game too.
On Christmas Day, the Red Man comes. A bloody X marks the spot.
Now it's on to the internet's favorite part of any review, the score. Since this is my first video review, I'm going to go over what areas I like to focus on when rating games, as well as how I like to assess them. When rating games, I like to focus on 4 core components: gameplay, visuals, audio, and story. Gameplay is rated on how the game works. How it controls. Is what you're doing enjoyable? In my opinion, this is the most important aspect of any game, and all the other areas should revolve around this. To me, visuals doesn't only refer to the look of the game, it covers the game world, level design, character models, animations, etc. It should be noted that a game doesn't need to have great graphics to have great visuals. Audio refers to everything you hear in the game. I often find this to be the most overlooked aspect in many reviews, and it's often lumped in with visuals. The major influences are typically voiceover, music, and sound effects.
I can't allow
Death is called Batman.
Story is rated not only on how solid of a narrative the game tells, but how well that narrative works with the gameplay. Gameplay needs to drive the story. For Wii U games, I'm adding a 5th category, gamepad implementation. For the Wii U to be successful, developers are going to need to use the gamepad in creative ways, especially in multi-platform games, to make the consumers want to purchase the Wii U version of the game. Now that that's out of the way, let's see how Batman Arkham City Armored Edition sizes up. Arkham City gives the player enough combat prowess to feel like a real superhero in fights. At the same time, the game places you in situations that require you to rely on stealth and your gadgets to outwit your foes. Essentially, you feel like Batman. Gameplay gets a 10 out of 10. The game offers unique environments for several of the villains, but the dark and dreary city atmosphere can get old after a while. Animations are sharp and fluid, especially in the fast-paced combat, but odd load times can interrupt the flow. When used, cutscenes look amazing, but sometimes stutter, and all the models for the major characters are detailed and unique. Visuals are an 8 out of 10. The sounds in this game are superb. The great voice cast makes you engage when any character steps on screen, every gadget sounds cool and futuristic, and the combat sounds make every hit seem impactful. Audio receives a 9 out of 10. The story manages to incorporate multiple villains in a way that allows different encounters to stand on their own yet feel connected. The side quests lack in adding much value to the main story, but since they are side quests, they aren't expected to add that much. The game builds up into a surprising ending that even after several playthroughs still gives me shivers. Story gets a 9 out of 10. The game tries to incorporate the gamepad whenever possible. Most of the implementations add to the gameplay, but some aren't integrated as well. For a launch title, the game tries a lot of interesting things with a technology that is still very new. Gamepad implementation gets an 8 out of 10. In the end, Batman Arkham City Armored Edition gets a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I round my scores. Well, that about does it for this review. Please follow me on Twitter @JohnnyZakari to receive updates on my future news and review posts. And be sure to check out Wii U Daily for all your Wii U news. Also, please leave your thoughts on the video in the comments.